Hello, Malcolm here, and welcome to Tuesday Teaching Tips, episode 302. And today we're talking about learning from our compliments. Learning from our compliments, where people compliment us. Now, we're more used to learning from our mistakes and our critics, right? And we should learn from them. But what about our compliments? People leave a comment online, or they talk to you on Sunday, or whenever you delivered your lesson and say thank you for something. It's important to accept it, not reject it, like, oh, it was nothing. No. Thank you very much. But do we learn from those compliments to help us to continue to grow as a speaker? It's on my mind because this happened to me twice on this last Sunday. Two people came up to me and gave me different areas of compliment, and I just thought I'd reflect on those with you as a way of an example of how then that might help us to continue to grow as a speaker. So the first person said to me that they really appreciated the fact that I was a straight talking preacher. This person's never heard me speak before. I thought it was really interesting because my reputation is not generally that. I'd say sometimes I've been accused of being a little vague, perhaps a bit like Jesus, when people, after they'd heard him speak, said in John 7:36, what did he mean? What did he mean when he said, you will look for me and you will not find me? Where I am, you cannot come. It wasn't entirely clear. Jesus didn't intend to make it entirely clear. Sometimes it's helpful to leave things a little vague because it gives room for people to think and come to their own convictions. But that's a side point. This chap felt I was straight talking, and I then had a further conversation with him trying to clarify that. And I realized what he meant was not that I was being necessarily very challenging or confrontational, which is what I assumed he meant. But actually what he meant was I took the passage, and then towards the end, I shared some of my own experiences that pertained to the instructions or the challenges or the inspiration of the passage. I used some personal examples of myself and some other people that week and some interactions I'd had to illustrate how this could come into reality in our lives. And so what this chap meant by straight talking was he meant showing us how we can very specifically apply a scriptural command or principle to our own lives through my own vulnerability. That's what he liked. My vulnerability applied to the passage, personal example, some suggestions for the congregation. For him, that was straight talking. And that was really helpful for me to understand that. He doesn't want me to necessarily be particularly challenging or confrontational. What he does want, and he found valuable, and he wished to tell me about it, is that I was able to show how to apply the principles and teaching of the passage. Very helpful for me as I then think more about how I can incorporate that more regularly in my lessons. Second compliment on Sunday, I really appreciate this chap who came up to me and said, I really like the way you ask questions in your sermons. They help me to think. They help me to, as I also hear other people answer the questions, to learn from other people. He said, I've never, ever seen that done in any church I've ever been part of. That may not be your experience, but that was his. And for him, me asking one simple question, I think I asked one on Sunday. He said, you usually ask two or more, and I find that even better. But I think on Sunday it was just one. He found that question where he was able to answer for himself and hear other people's answers particularly helpful. So it's helpful for me to know what was helpful about me asking questions for him. And of course, Jesus did that. He went around asking all kinds of people questions, Sadducees, Pharisees, people he wanted to heal, the people following him. He asks a question of Simon in Matthew chapter 17. There's a thing going on about the temple tax. And Peter comes into the house and Jesus says, what do you think, Simon? What do you think? He makes a point and Peter answers that, and he goes on to teach some more. Jesus interacted with the people around him in a very first century rabbinical kind of a style. And I think it's important that we do that. But this, just reflecting on this particular incident, reinforces in me the significance of asking questions and letting people answer. Not all the answers may be correct. They may not all be accurate. They may not all be relevant. That's a danger. He mentioned that. There is a risk in doing this in a congregational setting, and indeed there is. I need to learn how to react to that when it doesn't quite go the way I anticipate or I think may not be healthy, but that's another point, another question. But I found it particularly helpful that these two people stopped me on Sunday, gave me compliments, and in the further conversation that went on, I was able to discern specifically what they found helpful and what it meant. So for me, coming away from Sunday, I am more convinced than ever that I need to have interactivity in my lessons. I know not everybody appreciates it, and not the whole lesson isn't questions, but that for some people, it makes a big difference to them being able to get into the text and into the meaning of it and to take home something useful for them. And I also need to bear in mind how important it is for some people that there is some clear practical potential application and personal sharing involved to help people to figure out how they can apply what the Bible's teaching for their own lives. 2 useful things for me this Sunday from people who are willing to compliment me as we finish the service on Sunday. So what about you? How do you handle compliments? Do you find them helpful? Do you find them a bit cringeworthy, as in you feel embarrassed? Do you learn from them? And how do you learn from them? What compliments have you received recently that you could do with reflecting on to figure out what God is showing you about your future teaching and preaching? I'd like to know what you think. Send me an email, malcolm@malcolmcox.org. You can leave a comment anywhere you hear or see this recording. If you know anybody that might benefit from this, then please pass the link on. Why not hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and you won't miss a thing when I post. And one last thing, I'm at 1,999 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you, everybody. I wonder if today might be the day we tip over to 2,000. We'll see. Thank you very much for your attention, and I pray and hope that this has been useful to you. Let me know what has been and any questions you still have on this topic or any other. Until the next time, keep calm and carry on teaching. Take care and God bless.